Once the shock of being reunited with his family had passed, Japooli slowly laid aside the foolish mask he had worn for so long. No longer was he merely the jester called Japooli. Sitting beside his wife and daughter once more, he became Lord Viscum again. Elizabeth prepared tea while little Gracie sat happily between her parents, smiling as though afraid they might vanish if she looked away. Together they talked quietly about the island, the cottage, and old memories from happier days. For a little while, they avoided the painful subjects hanging over them all. But both Lord Viscum and Elizabeth knew there were things they needed to speak about privately. Sensing this, Queen Perusha gently took Elizabeth aside. "I will watch Gracie," the Queen said kindly. "You and your husband should go for a walk." Elizabeth gratefully agreed. After preparing food for Gracie and the Queen, she and Lord Viscum slipped quietly from the cottage. As they walked along the grassy hills overlooking the sea, Lord Viscum asked softly, "Is there somewhere here we can speak without being seen from the main island?" Elizabeth nodded. "Beyond this hill there is a small cove and a cave beside the beach." They walked there hand in hand. The cove was peaceful. Hidden away beneath the cliffs, waves rolled gently upon the sand while seabirds drifted overhead. For a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, Lord Viscum turned toward her. "You have done well for yourself and Gracie," he said gently. "But I cannot help wondering what happened after the raid, and how this island came to belong to you." Elizabeth lowered her eyes. She had hoped never to relive those memories again, but she saw in her husband's face that he needed the truth. "The raiders came without warning," she began quietly. "They were hidden so well, our lookouts never saw them coming. We fought back, but we were badly outnumbered." Her voice trembled. "They took the women and children captive. We were chained together and carried away across the sea." She paused, struggling to continue. "They threatened our children to control us. Many mothers endured terrible cruelty to protect them. Those who resisted watched their children suffer." Lord Viscum's face filled with sorrow as tears rolled down Elizabeth's cheeks. In the end, she whispered, "We were sold as slaves." He gently took her hands. "The man who bought us was not cruel," she continued. "He treated us fairly and gave us a home. When he became ill, we cared for him until he died. None of us expected him to leave us this island, but he did. Since then, Gracie and I have lived here in peace." Lord Viscum pulled her into his arms. "My love," he said softly, "you have nothing to be ashamed of. You survived. You protected our daughter. I am proud of you beyond words." Elizabeth looked up at him through tears. "If not for your courage," he continued, "we would never be standing here together again." For a long time, they simply held one another, while the sea breeze moved gently around them. After a while, Elizabeth asked quietly, "And what of you? Why does the Queen call you Japooli?" Lord Viscum sighed deeply. "My story is not one of courage," he admitted. "When I returned home after the battle and found our home destroyed, I believed you and Gracie were dead. The grief broke me." He stared out toward the sea. "I could not face life anymore, so I hid myself away behind the mask of a fool. I became Japooli the jester and buried the man I once was." He explained how he had served the king and queen aboard the Shalapoon, and how he alone had survived the shipwreck after washing ashore, hidden inside a barrel. A fisherman and his wife took me in. He said, they cared for me when I could no longer care for myself. Elizabeth gently touched his face. You survived because God was not finished with you yet, she whispered. Lord Viscum smiled faintly. I think you are right. He told her about hearing Gracie's song carried upon the wind, and how hope and fear battled within him as he crossed the tide toward the island. I was terrified to believe it could really be you, he admitted. But I'm grateful I found the courage to come. Elizabeth kissed him softly. Now God has brought you home to us. As the sun began to set, they walked back toward the cottage together. The moment Gracie saw them, she ran laughing across the grass. Lord Viscum swept her into his arms, holding both his wife and daughter close. For the first time in many years, peace filled his heart. Looking toward the heavens, he smiled through tears. God is good, he whispered, against all odds. He brought us back together.